Hey guys, welcome to another update here at Just Done Urgent Care. We have some good information for you for the coronavirus and the changes that are currently taking place. Remember, the updates is designed to help you and your family. I hope this information is useful as we do put some time in just to make sure you're on the same page as the physicians are in terms of how we're going to deal with the virus. So we're going to make a few transitions with the staff, and we're going to begin our talk. The first part of the lecture, we're going to have them come in closer. We're going to deal with what's happening now, the vaccine. Detroit mayor declines Johnson & Johnson vaccine shipment. As we zoom in a little closer, this gentleman, which is the mayor of Detroit, Mr. Mike Dugan is a nicer way of saying it, and from my Mississippi, I must say, lingo that I have to try to shake as I move forward. But Mr. Mike Dugan is defending his decision to reject shipment for Johnson & Johnson, saying that he said this in a press conference, that he knows that Pfizer and Moderna is a better choice, and he wants Detroit or the people in Michigan to get the best. Remember, they are now declining some of the Johnson & Johnson products because they want the best vaccines for their particular city. As you know, it would come down. This is Pfizer and Moderna are giving you 95% effectivity against the coronavirus, and Johnson & Johnson is only 72% effective. That's very important for you to know when you go get this shot or the vaccine. Remember, if you get Johnson & Johnson, it's a one-time deal. You can't come back and get these other vaccines. Now, a lot of people are asking, and they want to know an important question. First of all, when I do get the vaccine, which one are better? It depends on what's available. If you have whatever's at that location where you go, it's what's available. They do not determine what's coming to them. They can only make the order or the request. Now, Dr. Fauci says, and a lot of people are asking, and remember, I quote data, not opinion. Dr. Fauci says your COVID vaccine protects you for this long. You should be aware that you can expect at least 6 months only from your vaccine that's after you are fully vaccinated. I know we're used to our measles, mumps, rubella. I know we're used to our polio vaccines. However, this vaccine is only good for 6 months. They are currently working on boosters. So if you know someone that got vaccinated in November, December, January, February, March, April, May, probably June, they're due for their next go-round if we haven't gotten to them. Remember, the race now is to get as many people to get vaccinated as possible. Vaccine is 6 months. Please keep in mind natural immunity, which is what I have from catching COVID the 1st of December, also lasts for 6 months. If you are trying to get a vaccine and you have had COVID, remember the vaccine will boost your immunity for 60 days, protecting you for that time slot. Then you will come back down to the immunity that you currently have. That's how it works if you have had COVID. They only recommend one shot, acting as a booster to get you up during a crisis time or when COVID is at its peak, and then you come down to normality, which is where I am and where the people are that currently have had a full dose vaccine. Full dose, that's two injections. Question number 2. Everyone has been talking about could too much time between the vaccine be a problem? Could too much time between 2 vaccines be a problem? I want to zoom in here. If we let immunity wax and wane for a little while, which says like 4 weeks, this could hit what they're calling a sweet spot in the virus, a sweet spot in your protection. Let's look at what's recommended normally. Normally what's recommended, you get a Moderna vaccine, 21 to 28 days is when you should be looking for your second vaccine. Now it's been up to 6 weeks or 42 days. The World Health Organization, now they're responsible in pushing the vaccines in Taiwan and India, are still recommending 21 to 42 days max now, because initially the max was 28 days. If you don't get full effect or efficacy until you get your second dose, you don't get full efficacy. It means you don't get the maximum ability to protect yourself until you get your second dose. Then you're at this point we're calling suboptimal. Means I'm not well protected, which can actually lead now, which is what's happening, to these growth of the mutation. Now, let's translate that data. It's hard to get just one vaccine. Now remember, we're going to be a vaccine site, but it's hard just to get one vaccine. It's easy to say we qualify, but now you have to find out where to go get it and who has it. If you do get one vaccine, the maximum time allotted for your second dose is 6 weeks. Now the program tells us when you're due. Your maximum is 6 weeks, but sometimes due to the need of getting everyone vaccinated, you may run into a problem getting your second vaccine. The max time is 6 weeks. If you do run into a problem, that's where that mutation is developing. If you're not so well protected and you actually contract the virus, but you have some immunity in there, you don't have the full effect to prevent yourself, and that's where they're saying the mutation is developing during that process. So that's one thing you really want to make sure. 6 weeks max is the time frame that you want to wait before you get your second shot. They're pushing it out now because it's hard to even get the vaccine. I want to go, before I talk to you about my next part of the conversation, there's this talk now about a new surge. There's going to be a new surge, and people are wondering, what do you mean is a new surge when the rates are going down, when hospitalizations are going down, infections are going down? Why are we talking about a new surge? Where did that information come from? We need to be back outside. We want to take our kids to the park. And a lot of individuals want their kids to go back to school. However, my goal here is to show you where this information is coming from. And so they're just not saying new surge with no data, but all the time everything is opening, which is leaving us with some confusion. Let me show you some information regarding the new surge. Yes, second here, we got it on.
The problem is that, again, as I pointed out, as kids don't rise in our communities, which is what the CDC has flagged, will be the problem. So at this point, many of the areas can open up. I don't think they'll be open very long because of what's coming down the pike with cases.
I want to talk about the variants in a second, Michael, but according to the CDC guidelines, vaccinating teachers is not a prerequisite to reopening. Do you think it should be?
Well, first of all, right now, Anthony, we're in a race with this variant in terms of vaccination. If we look at the numbers right now, there'll be over 30 million Americans over the age of 65 who will not have a vaccine by the end of March, when we are going to be in very, very dark days. Now we have to start making choices. Do younger people who are otherwise not at risk beyond what it is in the community for getting infected, they're not at increased risk for serious disease, and get in front of the line of those who are, if they do get infected, are likely to be seriously ill and die. So right now, I think all the governors, all the mayors, and even our federal agencies are going to take a step back and say, we just don't have enough vaccine to say to everybody, come on, get in line. Who are we going to start prioritizing? If I had to put my money right now on saving the most lives, keeping our hospitals open, operating as best they can, I would put all my vaccine in 65 years and older. So I know teachers may not want to hear that, but I think that's the right message.
I understand that, Michael. So you're talking about, I mean, if you're talking about 14 weeks before this reaches a peak, is that what you're saying? You're saying this leads us right into the beginning of the summer.
The next 14 weeks, I think, will be the worst of the pandemic. People don't want to hear that. But if we look at what these variants are doing, particularly this one from the United Kingdom, and see what it did in Europe, see what it's done in the Middle East, it's now beginning to start that here in the United States. We are going to see that unfold. So overall with schools, they have to fit into that. And I think what we're going to see is a big efforts to open the schools. We will get some open beyond what we have now, but then there's going to likely be a real challenge for them in the next 6 to 8 weeks as these surge numbers begin to increase. And this will last for at least likely up to 14 weeks.
There are recent cases, Michael.
So that data, or my reason for showing that, the experts are saying from data that there's going to be an increase in the virus again. The literature is clearly saying we're going to open the schools for about 6 to 8 weeks, and they're going to close back down. They're saying we're going to open all the restaurants up in 6 to 8 weeks, and they're going to close back down. That's disappointing, and it may seem wax and wane. But at the end of the day, my job is to bring some clarity to what's going on and to try to help us understand what they're saying so we can make decisions in our own life. Here's where that information is coming from. They did a genome test. Basically, this study done at Yale and through Britain, this study tracks what the virus does. The B117, which is known as the UK virus, actually has a pattern of how it spreads. What it did in Europe, it also did in the Middle East. It is now on the same pathway of doing it in the United States. The study clearly shows, our study shows that the United States is on a similar trajectory or pattern as the other countries where this virus spread and became the most dominant virus in that region, requiring immediate, decisive action. Let me translate that if you didn't get that. They have seen how the virus worked in Europe. Please don't think we're different than anyone else. They have seen how the virus worked in the Middle East. It starts the same way. Right now it's in 30 states and it's moving small. By the end of March, this is supposed to be the biggest or the baddest virus that we will have in the United States. Now, yes, it is shown that the vaccines are working in preventing it. That's why there's been this massive push to vaccinate as many people as possible. So when the infection hit, we'll have a lot of people vaccinated, so it won't be such a bad outcome by the end of March, which is the next 30 days. But they've tracked how this virus works, and they see it's going to happen in the U.S. whether we like it or not. That's what they're talking about in terms of this virus being bad by March, in terms of schools closing again, and closing restaurants or other businesses having to shut down because they already seen what the virus does. Now, it's not more deadly. It's just easier to get. So what makes it an issue is that you have the same situation, let's say the same virus, same infection, but now you have the ability to get more people sicker with it. And you have the ability to even possibly reinfect the individuals who actually had immunity before. Remember, the vaccine only lasts for 6 months. So now you at a race because you got a guy that's moving faster and has the potential of getting more people. Thus, if it's the most dominant one, it can infect more people and more people faster. So you do have some resistance with the vaccine. However, that's the rationale of why they're saying it's going to be a new surge. And they're projecting it and basing it on what has happened in the United Kingdom, which is where it got its name from, and the Middle East. So be prepared for that talk and be prepared for those conversations on why this virus is, there's going to be a new surge, because they're not making this up. This is based on data and research. And they're just trying to prepare us as we drop our guards and we walk outside. They've seen what it did in other countries. And we're praying that it doesn't happen to us. But based on this pattern, once it catches on, it does the same thing everywhere it goes. That's what that information is about. Now remember, when you do get your vaccines, you're looking at Johnson & Johnson, 72% effective against stopping you from the current coronavirus and its affiliate, which is the UK virus. Not as good on the South African virus and the Brazilian virus, but 72%. One dose, one shot. Pfizer and Moderna gets you in the 90s, but it takes 2 vaccines, and it's difficult now to get that second shot. Recommended within 21 to 28 days, but now we're out to 42 days or 6 weeks. So this is some of the discrepancy. But however, we're trying to get as much out there as possible so we can actually try to prevent what I'm bringing to your attention again, an upcoming new hit from the UK virus. Is just not enough available, or haven't got here in big enough numbers to show you what it did to the United Kingdom and what it did to the Middle East. That would definitely do it to us. That's what the literature is talking about. Now, I do have a few other things I want to talk to you about. Here is something that's important. If you see this, 87% of Philly Rite Aid COVID vaccine doses is given to whites and only 4% to blacks, the data shows. If you see this, and they're calling this racial disparity in the pandemic, if you see this happening, it's important that you let someone know. Whether it's Rite Aid, Walgreens, or even if it's me. That is not the design of the program. However, you want to be careful with the media as well, because it have us in a racial issue with each other. Do not fall for a lot of the misleading information. If this is happening and you see it, you let someone know. It is not designed to be that way. And we all got to be brothers and sisters together doing this fight, because we're stronger together than separate. Let me show you what the real reason, or the real push behind the vaccine is.
To different groups, the president has made it very, very clear that we are going to have equity, which means we are going to distribute these equally among the different components, the same as we did with the other two. There is not going to be any preferential shipping to one versus the other. In a certain circumstance, someone may...
Now, I wanted to make sure you understood from the CDC and from Dr. Fauci and the guys who are really pushing it along with our public health department. And remember, I was fortunate to speak with Dr. Farrar and Dr. Balter. It is not designed for any racial disparity. If you see something that's not adding up, please notify us. This is not allowed. Lastly, I want to make sure I speak from my heart when I say that, because I'm part of the California vaccinating process. I'm going through all of the necessary training. that's needed. And I'm going to be giving out the vaccine, making sure that we have no disparity in any form, as long as I'm a part of it. Keep that in mind. Now, a lot of us would like to know just when life will return to what it was before. At what time should we expect life to return to what it was before? And according to Dr. Fossey, the life should be right about the end of the year. So by the end of the year, and again, this says, no, wait a minute. I really want to know when it's going to get to as close to normal that you had before. And then he said we will stick to what the president said, that life should be, by the end of the year, we should be back to normal. So just for some of those individuals who want to know when should life be back to normal. But I do want to say that because we're opening and we're doing things a little different now, I want to emphasize what the true leaders are saying regarding how we should interact, because again, there's a lot of misinformation. Let me show you.
When I say very soon, I mean within days at the most, is going to come out with some guidance that people can check out. In discussions, what I've done publicly, and I'm sure that this is going to be contained in the CDC guidelines, at least if you have two people in a family unit in a home, or friends who are vaccinated, where everyone is vaccinated in a home setting, not necessarily outside, but in a home setting, a group of people who want to get together for dinner or get together for a social gathering. If you have a group within a home and everyone's vaccinated, you can pull back on some of the public health guidelines, like you don't have to wear a mask and you don't have to worry about physical distancing.
Now, keep in mind, Dr. Fossey said, if you're in a home setting and everyone's been vaccinated, then you can pull back the mask and you can move away from some of the guidelines. Now, we know that there's some states who are saying we're done with that, and that's okay because people have to work. However, my goal is to let you know what's actually being said, and so you can make intelligent decisions, especially if they're telling you that there's a surge getting ready to come. Make intelligent decisions, especially if you go out to eat, especially if you're thinking about or would like to take off your mask around strangers. Remember, you may be vaccinated, but there's a thing called a vaccine bubble. You don't know if the next person that he's dealing with is vaccinated. And you also don't know if they took the shot that's 77%, which was originally 66%, but 94%, and you don't know if they got infected. So you just want to be careful when you make those decisions, especially if the people, he's a virologist, especially when the individuals that are doing the research are saying, keep your guards up until we can figure it out, because there's a lot of misleading information. Now, lastly, we want to have one more thing to say. When will this be completely over? Facebook friends are saying, I'm so over it. I'm so done with it. This needs to stop. I want to travel. The kids are driving me crazy. When will we expect this COVID stuff to end? The literature is saying it would take a little under 5 years to be exact for the COVID pandemic to end. That's what the literature is saying. 4 to 5 years, 4.9, but 5 years. So I know we want to be back tomorrow. I know we want to be over it. But they've done the research, they've done the math. It's not what we want to hear. But someone needs to at least come out and tell us so we can make an educated decision on our life with the friends that we have, and we can help others. Remember, if these videos are helpful for you, I'm going to ask you to share these videos and allow me to help as many people as God allows me to. Thanks for watching Conversations with Dr. Al.